we're gonna go through all the rigmarole. So, yeah, I'm gonna do that. It's the end of the year. Like I had, I paid.
That's what she said. Contract. She said they did.
Clerk's office is calling. Your clerk's office is calling.
We've never had that money, so we have to put up with it. We should have contracts because right now the water flows are never getting any lower than they are right now. But unfortunately we're just too far behind.
Good evening. I am calling to order the January 23rd Fountain City Council meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Thompson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rick.
Here.
Councilmember Hinton.
Here.
Councilmember Applegate.
Here.
Councilmember Estes.
Here.
Councilmember Herzberg.
Here.
Councilmember Duncan.
Present.
All 7 members present.
Thank you very much. That takes us on to item 4.1, presentations. Recognize Luke Lowell Kennedy, nomination for the Metro Coordinating Committee, Driver Appreciation of 2023. Ms. McCormick. I don't think you're, there you go. Okay.
Rosa McCormick, ADA Transit Coordinator. Every year, PPACG, Mobility Coordinating Committee, recognizes drivers in the surrounding areas. The City of Fountain Transportation Department is honored to name Luke Kennedy Transit Driver of the Year. Summer's going to come, and she wrote a little thing for MCC, so she'll read that.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Summer with dispatcher with Fountain Transit. Luke joined Fountain Transit just over a year ago. He's absolutely gone above and beyond every day. Of course, we appreciate that he drives safely, does meticulous pre- and post-trip inspections, and turns in accurate paperwork. But we also hear nothing but compliments on his service from our passengers. Native to the area, Luke has been driving public transit for several years, and his deep knowledge of the region makes him an asset to both the department and to the passengers as they navigate our region. Thank you, Luke.
Congratulations. Thank you, Luke. Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say thank you very much for the opportunity to work for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. All right, that takes us on to item 4.2, Board, Commissions, and Committee. There are no appointments tonight. Takes us on to correspondence, comments, and ex officio reports. Mr. Trainer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have anything for the group tonight.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I have some exciting news to share. As you know, we've been on a search for a assistant city attorney, and we hired Grace Williams, who is here this evening, that I wanted to introduce you all to tonight. So she'll be working closely with me on city attorney matters and also handling prosecutions for municipal court. So we're excited to have her. And I'm sitting in Todd's seat, so I also wanted to introduce our new Deputy City Engineer, Abba, who's here as well. So we're very excited to have her as well. She comes to us with a PhD, so I think she may be officially the most educated staff member we have. And so we're excited to work with her and Ben on all things engineering. So excited for those two that started last week. And with that, Mayor, that's all that I had this evening.
Welcome, Grace and Abba. We're excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Oh, my goodness, the back row is empty. IT, anything tonight?
Nothing tonight.
All right, anything from the city clerk's office?
No, ma'am, not tonight. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Duncan.
Good afternoon, everyone. On February the 10th, Chaffer will be here at our library, the Fountain Library, and it will be a discussion on Home Buyers 101. And they have 8 steps to home buyership, down payment assistance, anything that you need to know. They will have realtors here to help you if you're looking for a home. So please pass this information. The information is online, and I will get that to our city so we can post that information. It's really important that we help those who are looking for a home to purchase one. Also, our legislative session is among us, and I will be watching the bills that they are bringing toward us. I am not a fan of unfunded mandates, so I will be looking for those bills. We need money for our roads and not to fund things that we didn't ask to be funded, right? Also, if you have seniors at your home, the FAFSA, F-A-F-S-A, is due. This form determines how much financial aid you're eligible to receive. I'm sure parents need to know that it is now open. It didn't open till January 1. And this determines whether or not how much your child gets in federal grants, loans, and additional scholarships. So please go out and fill out that information. Also, there are a lot of scholarships that are being offered to seniors. I know parents are needing as much help as they can to send their children to school. We have our own personal scholarship person that helps us. So it is really good information to get out so that you're not caught in not being able to send your child to school. That's another reason why a lot of people are not able to afford homes, because when they leave school, they have more school debt than they have income. So we need to make sure that we're helping our children get to school and not acquire a lot of debt. Also, I have, if you know, every child is not school-bound, college-bound. And there are trade jobs, and these will be around the city. If you see these they are apprenticeships. They have information that you don't have to go. You can take the apprenticeships, and you can leave these apprenticeships with good paying jobs that allow you to be a homeowner and to take care of yourself out of school. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Hersberg.
Nothing for me.
Councilmember Estes.
Nothing this evening.
Councilmember Hinton.
Nothing this evening.
Councilmember Applegate.
I sat in my first meeting for the Pikes Peak Regional Board, Advisory Board, and I got to talk with Roger one-on-one about the villas at Mesa Ridge High School, and he had nothing but praise for Tish. So she is doing a great job right now for code enforcement. So hats off to her, rock star.
Great, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, last week, Councilmember Hinton and I attended a meeting with the residents of the villas at Mesa Ridge and the management company for the building. The management company is in the process of documenting all of the issues with the building and hiring a local structural engineering company to evaluate the structural integrity of the building. Once they determine all of the issues in the building, they will develop a plan to fix the problems. Scott, once that plan gets published, could we have somebody either from the management company or from code enforcement come and let us know what that plan is? I don't care who it is. Speaking just for myself, I want to make sure we stay on top of that. Also, if Tish hears of any other meetings between the residents and the management company, if you could let Fred or I know, we would like to attend those meetings. Reminder, property tax bills are being mailed late due to the legislature changing how much property tax is being collected this year. Unfortunately, the legislature did not extend the date our property taxes are due. So taxes will be certified tomorrow, January 24th, and must be paid by January 29th. You can wait for your bill to be mailed to you, or you can go to the El Paso County Treasurer's website and sign up for electronic delivery of your property taxes so you can get notified earlier than waiting for the mail. Finally, last week I attended a meeting with the city manager, the fire chief, the fire marshal, and code enforcement regarding code enforcement in our residential neighborhoods. After discussing the pros and cons of all of the options brought to the table, it was decided not to recommend any changes to our existing ordinances with regards to the storage of propane. It was also decided to offer the mayor and council members an opportunity to tour the city to show the most common complaints that code enforcement deals with. And in the future, staff will provide a presentation of the most common complaints that they deal with during a future city council meeting so that the public can provide feedback. As a reminder to everyone, code enforcement is primarily a complaint-driven department. Due to the volume of complaints that they receive, they do not have the staffing to randomly drive through neighborhoods citing whatever violations they observe. Code enforcement generally focuses on those complaints filed by residents. Our current backlog is between 300 and 400 complaints on any given day, for which a staff of 3, that's a lot. So I would ask residents to be patient as staff works through their backlog. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. All right, let's see. PPACG meeting was done, and I was reelected as the chair for one more year. I attended the Rail Yard Oversight Group with Kimberly, and that continues to move forward. Legislative meetings, or as Councilmember Duncan referred to, are in full swing, and there's several groups out there. If they wonder what the state is up to, you can always go to the state website, and if there's a word that interests you, you just put that word in, and it will pop up any pending bills on that word. So it actually is fairly easy to search. I went to Mount Carmel today, an online meeting, and they had a group in there called Porchlight Friends. I had not heard of them before. They provide services. It's a nonprofit. They have a profit branch and a nonprofit branch. And the nonprofit branch provides services in the community to people that might need home help, but not like healthcare help, help. And so they're trying to meet that niche, like somebody might need a neighbor to check on them, come in, maybe help them fix a meal and that kind of stuff. So if you haven't heard of that group, hopefully we'll find out. Porchlight Friends. And anyway, so that was very interesting. They're just trying to fill that niche in there. And they have a really, really cool service that you can get an electronic device from them, whether it be a phone or an iPad, and it's a closed system. And it would be that you would have friends or family members that it would alert at a certain time every day that they would check on you. And so they would either check on you or you would check on them and just kind of have a daily contact. And I think that's a really, really valuable system to have because they're trying to really, really reach a lot of the loneliness that they're seeing in the community, especially since COVID. So you might hear of that one starting to be around in the community. I think they have a great service they're working towards. All righty, and that takes us on to item 6, public to be heard. I do have 3 cards tonight. And citizens may address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Council may not be able to provide an immediate answer, but will direct staff to follow up. Out of respect for the council and others in attendance, please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. And the first card I have is from Sam Fortune. So please come forward and state your name for the record.
Fortune, Darnielle Drive. Load the pictures. All right, guys, I told you I'm going to make this painful, and I'm going to make it painful. Your code enforcement is a joke, okay? I don't know what smoke they blew up your ass, but they blew some smoke up your ass. All right, look at this picture. Tell me, what do you see wrong in this picture? Is there anything you see wrong? I'm serious. Opinion. Anybody, give me an opinion. Chief, do you have anything wrong with it?
You know I'm not going to comment, Sam.
Any of you, you don't need to say anything. You owe me paperwork so I can file an appeal. That's my boat. I had to put it in storage. That's my wife's food truck behind a 6-foot privacy fence on my property, and I'm told I can't park it there. Next slide.
IT, next slide, please. Give him a second.
That's a water trailer that I have for my ranch. I'm told I cannot have the water tank on it, and I can't have the trailer on my property. Go figure. Next one, please. That's another picture of my boat. Next. I apologize for not loading those into a PDF format. Keep going. But again, you know, I don't see anything wrong, nothing out of place. It's all personal property. Oh, also, did y'all know the Supreme Court actually defined what a trailer is? A trailer is defined by the Supreme Court as goods, merchandise, personal property, not a vehicle. Supreme Court's gonna have fun with you. All right, Bud Light. How long's that truck been sitting there? Still sitting there. Y'all know where it's at. I know the chief does. I know the city attorney knows. And I know Trainer knows.
Why do you think I know?
Because it's at a major intersection that the city's redone in the last 5 years.
Are you filing a complaint on that?
I already have. Trish won't take anything on it. She doesn't care. But she wants to go after small business owners, like my wife. Next one, please. Close up of it. Row of water tanks. Nothing that can be there. Looks unsightly. Next. That's been sitting on Fountain Mesa Ridge longer than my wife's been in business. Hell, that damn thing's been sitting there for, I don't know, about as long as I've lived in this town, and no one's ever done anything about it. On a major roadway that code enforcement can't ignore. Next. Hey, look, a food truck parked in somebody's front yard in the city fountain. Mine's behind a fence, and I'm told I have to take it out of the city, and I get sued by the city. Next. And just so y'all know, all these pictures are taken from major roadways. Fountain Mesa, Ohio, Link, CNS. Hell, that's just right there in the city park, for God's sakes. The park! And you guys want to come after me. That's where all the kids are. Next. That's 2 blocks up the street from this very building. Next. Same thing, 2 blocks up. And y'all telling me code enforcement only goes on complaint calls, not on major roadways that are on the way to this very building or park or high school. Next. Man, I thought my computer was slow. That's just like right over here by the, going towards the splash park. I don't know what the hell this is supposed to be. Next. I really don't give a damn. I've spent more money in the last year on lawyers than I have in my wife. Same area, and I don't even live on a main road. Next. Y'all see what I'm getting at? Yeah, my time's up, but I'm assuming y'all get it, right? Your code enforcement is a joke in this town. A joke. She might be doing some good up there with those apartments, which, quite frankly, should be a regional thing. Shouldn't have anything to do with her. She ain't structural. She's a goddamn prison guard.
Mr. Fortune, your time is up. If you could wrap it up, please.
My point is, your code enforcement is useless.
Thank you.
You need to educate them.
Thank you.
I need that paperwork for the appeal.
The next card I have is from Al Linder. If you could just state your name for the record, please.
Evening, City Council. Al Linder. I don't know if you noticed or not, but there was a flyer, and I sent it to a few of you. It's about the VFW. And the VFW this Friday evening for their dinner is going to have a drag queen night. Now, I understand the city likes to, what's the word I want to use? You work with them a lot. You're always doing things with them. Do you know anything about this? And, you know, to me, it's a little bit unacceptable. I know you can't see it, but there's the flyer right there. And it says Pasta Dinner and Drag Show, hosted by the UCPPE, established 1976. VFW Post 6461, Fountain, Colorado, this Friday night. So I went online to look up what UCPPE means. It's the United Court of Pikes Peak Empire. It is the oldest LGBTQIA organization in the southern Colorado, the highest court in the land, whatever that means. And as it went on, it told their little history of what they do and so forth. And on the very last page, they have an empress and an emperor. And there's their picture right there. So I understand that organizations can do what they want. There's freedom of speech. But with this VFW right down the road here, to me, exploitation of children is totally unacceptable. And I wish that this city council would say something about it to them. That's all I have to say tonight.
Thank you. The next card I have is from Connie Weisenhunt.
Good evening, Council. How are you? Just wanted to bring it to your attention. I just kind of like a few things to go on record. Although the issue has been resolved due to great communication by Fred and returning my calls quite quickly, I wanted to bring it to your attention that there was a post placed on Facebook that there were 2 openings for the board for the Housing Authority. And if anybody was interested to reach out to so-and-so, I reached out to so-and-so via email, received the application via email, printed it out, filled it out, took it to the building, which is in the old Walt Fortman. They were closed at the time. I slid it under the door. I reached out after they got back from lunch to ask if they retrieved it. They said they did. And I had a couple of other organizations that reached out to me wanting me to join them and or help them, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't overburdening my time. And so I reached out to the Housing Authority, and they told me that that was a mistake and that it should have never been posted. And it was on the 17th when I reached out to them, and I kind of thought, you know, it was a little odd because I gave my application at the end of December, and they had a board meeting that night, and if it were a mistake, then they would have reached out to all of the people who filled out the application to clarify that. My intent in bringing it to your attention is that the kind of communication that we have for our citizens who are waiting on replies in regards to housing. So that's one thing. My second thing that I put on my card was in regards to the last word. So the city council had a guest or two last city council meeting, and they were talking about their concern in regards to city business licenses and the cost of those. And Sir Rick, you took it upon yourself to find the amount of what the licenses were in Colorado Springs or someplace, $110 or something, and you came back and shared that. And the lady didn't have an opportunity to reply or respond because it wasn't that time. And I wanted to bring it to the council's attention that I think it's only fair that if we're going to take the time to do some research and we're going to share it, then there should be an opportunity for them to rebuttal or respond. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, those are the only 3 cards I have tonight. And that takes us on to item 7, the consent agenda. All items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and will be approved with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which case the item may be removed from consent agenda and considered separately at the discretion of council. I have had a request from staff to remove item B from the consent agenda and cover it under new business. So that is the request. So what would council like to do with the consent agenda? Councilmember Rick?
Move to approve consent agenda items A, C, and D.
Okay, we have a motion, and Councilmember Hinton.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for consent items A, C, and D. Any further deliberation? All in favor say, I'm sorry, that's another board. Please vote.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, that takes to item A, old business. There is no old business. Item 9, new business. Consideration of items removed from the consent agenda. We do have item 7B that was removed from the consent agenda. Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item I removed because I wanted to provide the council with the most updated version of the document. This is a simple standard practice that we do with Colorado State Patrol to establish the areas of responsibility for traffic enforcement in the city of Fountain. And so I provided the council with an updated copy signed in 2023 as opposed to the 2020 version in your packets. It is word for word the same, just the font is smaller and put on one page, and the dates have changed to, I think, July 31st of 2023. But that was the only change. I wanted to make sure that you all approved the most updated copy of that.
And there, just for people in the audience or people listening online, it is dated effective 07/31/23, and the new signature is Chief Christiani and Captain Hoffen?
Correct, and
Hoffen?
I think those were two different signatures in 2020, and so, yeah, the signatures are also updated.
Okay. All right. Is there any questions from anyone? Any questions from anyone in the audience? Okay, seeing none, what would council like to do with item 7B? Councilmember Applegate.
What, I had a question. Was there
I'm
any,
sorry.
no, you're okay. Was there any major changes to this on our patrol sheet? I mean, this is just, we're kind of rolling over from years past, right?
That's correct.
Okay. That's all I
No,
was
no
wondering.
changes.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry if I make a motion as well.
Sure, go right ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item, or, sorry, move resolution 24-002.
Okay, we have a motion, and Councilmember Duncan.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for Resolution 24-002. Please vote.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay. And that takes us on to item B, first reading of ordinance 1797, an ordinance establishing new sections to Chapter 1.12, General Penalty with Title I, General Provisions of the Fountain Municipal Code, General Penalty within Title I, General Provisions of the Fountain Municipal Code, establishing a right to trial by jury and exemptions thereof. Mr. Johnson, I think that's the most parentheses we've had in a...
My apologies for all the words. Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is an ordinance that's been in discussion for quite a while, even starting with the prior prosecutor and prior municipal court judge. As you may know, our Fountain Municipal Code has really one penalty provision, and that is up to a year in jail and up to $26.50 in a fine. And so that's for any violation of municipal code as it's currently written. This ordinance would change that to eliminate the possibility of jail for most offenses. We're talking about the more low-level offenses, your parking offenses, weed violations, to take the possibility of any jail time away for those types of violations. The specific list is obviously in the ordinance. This is twofold. The reason for doing this would be twofold. Number one, we don't sentence anybody to jail on those anyways. We haven't, the judge in recent memory and as far back as the previous judge could remember, and he had been here for 49 years, we had never sentenced anybody to jail on these offenses. But number two, so number one would be to make it sort of more accurate to the possibility of the penalty, and number two would be having the possibility of jail on a particular violation triggers the right to a jury trial and the right to be represented by court-appointed counsel, both of which are not only significant expenses, but especially for jury trials, a big ask of people in our communities to come in and give their time and serve on a jury for things that really don't rise to the level of needing it. And so they would still obviously have the right to a court trial, a trial to the judge, which is most of the work that the municipal court does anyways. And so that would be those would be the two primary reasons for this ordinance. And with that, I'll ask if anyone has any questions.
Councilmember Rick.
So in the event that there is a trial, and as you said, there's no jury trial, it's the judge decides. If it is against, the decision of the judge is against the plaintiff, do they get to appeal the judge's decision, and how does that work?
Yeah, so I think what you meant to say was defendant. So if the judge found a defendant guilty of a violation, regardless of the violation or the punishment behind it or the penalties behind it, they could always appeal to the El Paso District Court. So, so that is the court that has appeal jurisdiction over our municipal court. So that's always an option for appealing a case, regardless of the penalties.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, somebody's got the right to an appeal using this ordinance. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, is there any questions from anyone else on council? Could you give us some examples of some of these?
Sure. So it would be most code violations, if not all code violations. So weeds, trash and debris, inoperable vehicles, those types of violations that code enforcement writes. The ones for traffic would be anything that does not rise to the level of a state statute equivalent that carries jail. So a lot of times that threshold is drawn at reckless driving. So for example, if you are charged with careless driving, that is not punishable by jail according to state statute, and so that is listed on the list. So if you're driving carelessly, but if you're driving recklessly, that actually bumps up, according to the state, bumps up the seriousness of the charge, and that carries up to 90 days in jail. And so that is not included in this ordinance because even if you're charged here with reckless driving, regardless, because of the state statute, you'd be entitled to a jury trial and court-appointed counsel. And then most juvenile charges would be included, and most animal charges would be included. So, dog at large is what we call it, when you let the dog off the leash and it runs, and those types of things for animal violations. So those are that's kind of the general ones that would be a part of this.
Animal cruelty, though, they're not going to get off.
That's correct. So we're talking municipal animal violations. The two primarily that we see are, dogs running loose and potentially a dog bite without causing serious injury. So those are the two that we would see. We would not get any animal cruelty cases. Those would be charged under the state and go to state court. So we don't see those anyways.
Okay. Any further questions from council? Clarifications? Are there any questions from anyone in the audience? Please come forward and state your name for the record.
Sam Fortune. So these are municipal violations. Okay. I know PD doesn't handle municipal.
We do.
You do now?
Yes, sir.
Because does that mean that code enforcement's gonna be running around with their little orange lights pulling cars over too? Because God knows he gave authority to them over traffic violations.
I don't give authority over traffic violations.
Really? Then how come I got a parking ticket from them?
That's not authority that's given by the city manager, sir.
They cited the code that cited you.
I'm sorry, you're misunderstanding.
No, I have the paperwork.
I don't know what to tell you, the city manager.
I have the paperwork that this guy claims he likes to write. That the city manager gives special authority of law enforcement powers.
Incorrect.
It's in the book, guys. Open a book. I can pull it up right here, Scott.
Were there any questions or comments from anyone else in the audience? Okay, seeing none, what would council like to do with this item, ordinance 1797? Councilmember Duncan?
I move to approve ordinance 1797 on first reading.
Councilmember Hinton?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further deliberation? Seeing none, please vote.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, thank you. That takes us on to item 9C. First reading of ordinance 1798, an ordinance repealing and reordaining?
Yeah.
All righty, Chapter 10.04, Model Traffic Code of Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic of the Mount Fountain Municipal Code, and adopting by reference with changes the 2020 edition of the Model Traffic Code for Colorado, revised 2020, and making other changes related to traffic. Mr. Johnson, you are the man of the night, huh?
Sorry for the big words too. So you guys have to listen to me all night, but thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll say about every 10 years or so, the state of Colorado updates its model traffic code. They put this out so the traffic laws are theoretically consistent throughout the state, and enforcement are as consistent as we can make it throughout the state. And so we adopted the 2010 version, and it's what we've been operating on, and what we've adopted to enforce traffic laws in the city of Fountain. We are a little behind, but so the state came out with their 2020 version, and so that's what's in front of you tonight is updating our adoption of that model traffic code. So with that, I will leave it to the council for any questions.
Okay, notice we have Mr. Racine back here, so if
I
you could.
I did mention that, Lieutenant Racine, this was initiated by him. I think the Fountain PD would like to start charging some of the new updates in the model traffic code here in Fountain instead of probably sending them to county court. So we'll be able to start charging those kind of newer violations since the update.
Right. Mr. Racine, could I ask you a couple of questions? Lieutenant Racine. Commander. Yeah, well, he said lieutenant, so, yeah. That's why I was saying Mr., that's why I was saying Mr., because I figured I was safe with that one, right? All right, so this is, read through it, it's just a little bit confusing, when you're trying to read through it, it says page 17, subsection, So can you kind of give us the real English version of some changes that we're going to be seeing here?
There's really not too many changes. What it is.
Could you step up the mic?
It's adding some of the violations that our officers routinely write, but until the 2020 version came out and when the city adopted it, we couldn't write them in the municipal court, so we always had to write those into county court. So the money went to the state rather than coming to the city. It just makes it a lot easier and a lot cleaner for officers to be able to write their violations and not have to say, well, I have 2 violations, but one of them's a city violation that I can write, the other one's still not in our model traffic code, so I'm gonna send the whole ticket to county court. So it cleans it up.
Yeah, do you have a couple of examples of a couple of different?
No, like, different things, like from mufflers to, different types of, vehicles. We wanna say some of the buses, bus section, or say the bus doesn't stop at the railroad crossing, open its door, it just blows through, causes an accident. Right now, we would have to write that into county court. Anything doing the actions of the bus driver, we would have to write into county court because our current model traffic code doesn't have that.
Okay. And any other questions from anybody in the council?
Question.
Councilmember Duncan.
So, under G, is it G? That's right away. I'm wanting to look at the part, establishing truck routes.
Yes, so the city will be able to establish its truck routes. That's just something else that's granted in the model traffic code and through permission for home rule municipalities to be able to create those laws to be able to enforce.
So
which we already have established our truck routes, but it's basically a statute that's included in it that gives the authority for the home rule to be able to do that, just verbiage.
Okay, so that means that if a neighborhood has that a truck can't be over a certain amount of tons, that they can't come through on this, on this street?
Well, we have the designated truck routes now, and those outline that if somebody is passing through the city of Fountain, how they need to take it, but if they are scheduled for a certain delivery on a certain road and that road is not posted, because some roads maybe, like some bridges, you have a weight ton limit. But if that's not the way it is on a street, like a garbage truck or somebody's delivering furniture or roadways moving a new soldier to a home, that's all fine because they're doing business at that specific location. But just traveling through, they have to follow the designated truck routes. because those roads are designed to be able to handle the weight and the excess damage that they're going to cause.
Okay, because I live on one of those streets where we have a lot of trucks coming through on already damaged streets, and we have signs saying that they can't be over a certain time, but they continue, they're just taking a shortcut to.
No, I get that, and, Mr. Linder's already left. We hear from him frequently over on Kane Road, for people that are trying to take the shortcut to the dump using Ohio, things like that. We try to enforce it the best we can. Currently, this week, we have, 2 of our traffic officers that are actually in motor vehicle school up at State Patrol Academy.
Okay, thank you.
Was that your last question? Okay. Alrighty, any other questions from anybody up here? Councilmember Applegate.
I was going to ask, but Commander Racine might have already kind of got to it. Was there any major changes from the 10 years ago that rolled over to this one, or?
I think it's just those kind of smaller, more specific traffic infractions that are included now that they weren't back in 2010. So nothing huge, but it's those types
Yeah,
that.
it's like careless driving up until 3 years ago was something that was jailable, and now it's not. Because they've broken it down under the state code with careless driving resulting in injury, careless driving resulting in death. Those would still have to be charged under the state statute, but now we can just charge careless driving, and we don't have to have a jail sentence accompanying it.
Thank you, Commander.
Councilmember Duncan.
So when we go to the ordinance 1685 for RV parking, does that include private parking
So
on private
if
property?
it is on private property, then that is a city code violation. So model traffic code is only on public roadways or private thoroughfares as to large parking lots. That gives us the authority to write improper backing. There's only a few charges in the state statute that you can write on private property, which is DUI, improper backing, things like the hit and run, stuff like that. Anything that is from the sidewalk, the edge of the sidewalk, up the curtilage of your property, that is a city code violation. Has nothing to do with the model traffic code.
So if they're, because you do see a lot of travel trailers, they're backed up just as close as they can get to that garage door, but they're still hanging over and covering the hitches
Well,
on
and
the
if the
sidewalk.
hitch,
Yeah.
what that would fall under is that would be blocking the sidewalk. So it wouldn't be, it's still in the model traffic code, but that's the sidewalk issue. But once it's at the edge of that curb line, or the sidewalk edge to the driveway, then that's a code violation.
Okay, thank you. All right. Is there any other questions from any other council members? Oh, you're lighted, okay.
I don't know if this is a question, but sometimes a person's house can be on a curve, like the curve, and you can't see, just like, I guess you can compare it to the coverage of the cars. The carports that you can't see. So some people are not at the curve, but when you turn when you're coming around the corner of a curve of a street, that trailer is blocking vision. I think that needs to be considered because.
Well, these aren't any, we haven't changed any of these. These are what other municipalities throughout the state adopt. This is all based off of state statute. Now, there can be something in code because code does have the authorization to write citations under our code for blocking sidewalks and things like that. But also when it comes to travel trailers, that would fall under the code stuff as well. That if there's reasons they don't want those on the streets, and that's one of the reasons. That's like a big bus, a big RV, is that completely blocks the view of a vehicle that's trying to go around it. So that's probably already in our city code, but I'm not 100% on that when it comes to the code violations. But we can't add to the model traffic code. All we can do is adopt, or we can remove.
Okay, so if you check on that, because that's a big issue. We have a lot of curves in my neighborhood, and they park, because they figure because I can park on my property, but you are blocking view. And I've seen a lot of almost some head-on collisions because you can't see around, because it's so huge, you can't see.
Absolutely, and that used to be a big problem up in CCH back in the day, is when the travel trailers or somebody would park a semi on the roadway, you wouldn't be able to see around it, and they were having a lot of problems.
And
Okay,
if
but
I'm
that
not
would not be
mistaken-
something we would be addressing tonight in the adoption of this. That would be a
Correct.
totally separate issue, right? Okay.
But I think there's something in our code that addresses like the sort of the public safety aspect of parking, but I'll follow up with you in code enforcement to give you some details on it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from council? Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Hertzberg.
Sorry, I'm not sure if this is the same thing, but over by the gas station, I think it's Love's, and they had that side parking lot where a lot of like semis park. Is that considered within this, or is that considered the code?
That's already actually posted, no parking. You're talking
Right.
the little
Yeah.
cul-de-sac they have?
Right.
That's posted, no parking, but that would fall under this because it's painted red.
And that was why I asked.
Yes.
I had the pleasure to spend a couple hours with code enforcement driving around and sort of learning about what they deal with every day. And the red is mostly gone.
Okay.
So I don't know who is responsible for painting the red, but I just wanted to mention if
I will
that's.
speak with Bob McDonald about
Okay,
that, and we'll take care of that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any comments or questions from anyone in the audience? If you could, I saw your hand first. Please come forward and state your name for the record and ask your question.
Connie Weisenhunt, and I have 3. So can you talk a little bit, for those who don't know, what the difference is between careless driving and reckless driving?
Careless driving is just that you operated a motor vehicle in a careless manner. Reckless driving means that there was intent to drive a certain way. I think a lot of people have seen the video where an individual was doing donuts and some teenagers got hurt. That was an intentional act to drive like that. That's reckless driving.
So if
There's just no due regard when it comes to careless driving.
So if you bump somebody just because you'd misjudged where the traffic sign stopped and you bumped them, that's careless driving. But if you purposely rear-ended them because you didn't like the color of their car or what their license plate said, that's reckless.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Okay.
if you did it intentionally, that
giving
could
that
be
as
other
an-
charges. But
Yeah,
reckless driving is, I'm gonna drive 110 miles an hour down 85 to show off to my friends. That's reckless. Careless driving is, I was looking at my kids in the back seat, not paying attention. They stopped in front of me and I rear-ended a vehicle.
Okay.
So my second question is, so this was approved, or this is something that happened in 2020, and so everybody else is using it. Talk a little bit about the benefits for bringing it into Fountain.
The main benefits is that we can cite individuals and also cite motor vehicle accidents with ordinance violations under the model traffic code, rather than having to send it to county court. Or, we'd be able to write one person into county, one person into city, so that has to go to county, but now we can just take care of it in our own jurisdiction. So we can keep it local, and at that point, it's gonna be the same with what was just passed earlier, that there's not gonna be jail time associated with municipal ordinances on the traffic code.
And just to follow, we have adopted the 2010 version of this. And so they've updated it in 2020, so we're just re-adopting it.
Okay, so am I correct in saying that I'm understanding that it's going to be voted on and approved by the council tonight?
If we put forth a motion, yes.
Because has the general community had an opportunity to really see some of the things that you're viewing?
Yes. The agenda is put on the city website every Friday, and people have the opportunity to go through the packets and see what's going to be on the agenda.
And then if approved, it would take a second reading. So if it was approved tonight, there would be another reading at the next council meeting. So there would be a gap in between for people to come back and give their thoughts as well.
Oh, okay, good to know. Because I just feel like there's some things that may be in there that people don't understand, and then it becomes a law, and then they're cited for it, and they're like, well, I didn't know that.
Well, just,
I can explain that.
yeah.
So what is in there, everything that's in there right now is already on Colorado Revised Statutes under Title 42 for motor vehicle. So it's not any new laws. It's just taking it as a state law and making it an ordinance. And then that way, we're not subjecting people to have to go to county court where they can be jailed. They can go through that process and we can handle it here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's no new laws. Yeah. Okay. Please come down and state your name for the record.
Hello, I'm Fran Carrick. I really don't have a dog in the fight, but I want to make sure I don't. Let's say that a family has a trailer that they groom dogs, and it's parked on the street in front of their house. Is that a code violation? That's a code violation.
That has nothing, there's no violation under Title 42 or anything that we're adopting under the Model Traffic Code that pertains to parking, as long as it is parked properly.
Yeah.
Fire hydrants, it's not on the curb, those types of things, not blocking an intersection or anything like that. If it's parked properly, that is a code violation if the municipality restricts certain trailers, buses, RVs, things like that.
Okay. But according to Gordon Rick, it would be someone calling to complain about that. Code
Well-
violation would not just stop, as you understand it, to talk to them about it. Is that right?
Mr. Rick, just a moment. So I'd really like to stay on the topic of what we're trying to discuss here tonight about the Model 2020 code.
Oh, okay.
So if you have a really specific question about a city, whether something's under code or whether it's under
Right.
PD,
Right.
who would she contact, Mr. Trainer?
You'll do what? Oh, fine.
Are you okay with that? Okay. And the 2020 code, since this is state, I am assuming the entire code, if somebody wants to, is online.
Yeah, it's been online since 2020. Yeah.
Right, right.
We'll obviously have a hard copy here at the clerk's office too.
Right, right, but I'm just saying, if somebody between now and the next meeting, when we have our second reading, if they want to go online and really look through it, it is out there, yeah.
And maybe this will clear it up. So when the state releases this, they release it specifically written for municipalities. It takes out every charge in there that is mandated by statute to go to district or to county court. So we cannot charge DUIs in the municipal court. We cannot charge anything that has anything to do with the driver's license or vehicle registration. If there's a vehicle registration thing on the books that says you can't have vehicles that are unregistered on your property, that's a code violation. Again, on private property, it's going to be a code thing. It's not going to be this. So all of the ones that are taken out that include mandatory jail, sentencing, all that kind of stuff has already been taken out by the state. And then they provide basically the packet to municipalities so they can try to remain consistent, like Mr. Johnson said, throughout the state.
Right. Okay, any further questions or comments from anybody on council? Okay, seeing none, what would council like to do? Mr. Hinton?
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1798 on first reading.
Councilmember Duncan?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion on the second for ordinance 1798. Any further deliberation? Seeing none? Oh, wait, Councilmember, oh, okay, your light was on for just a second. Okay, all right, please vote.
7 yes, motion carried.
All right, thank you very much. And that takes us on to item 10, City Council Agenda Requests. City Council shall use this time to request any items for future consideration. I'm going to start on my right tonight. Councilmember Duncan?
I don't have anything.
Councilmember Hersberg?
Nothing tonight.
Councilmember Estes?
Nothing this evening.
Councilmember Hinton?
Nothing tonight.
Councilmember Applegate?
Nothing tonight.
Councilmember Rick?
Nothing tonight, Madam Mayor.
And Mayor has nothing, okay? That takes us on to an announcement of executive session. We have none tonight. And so this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.